Welcome to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. Hi, I'm Wendy. After I graduated with my master's in wellness management, I started my own company, T2 Coaching, Health, Fitness, and Sport. And I'm Kirsten, an athlete, vegan, life coach, and girl mom, running a business focused on helping others create a life they love. We are here to explore all things wellness to help you become the person you've always wanted to be. So if that's why you're here, open your ears and your mind as we tackle the world of wellness together. Hey everyone. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
I am doing very, very good this week. What about you?
Good.
Good?
Great. No complaints.
No complaints. What is your wellness win for the week?
I have two.
That's
Number one,
weird. You never have two.
number one, my race that I did, it was an Olympic distance triathlon. And I had this fear of not being able to do it. And I'd like to check off one race per year because that's my streak. It's my only streak going on. And this is year 33. And I had this back issue. I was really worried, 2 weeks before the race. I'm like, I can't run. I'm not going to be able to race. And so I did what I needed to do for treatment, went to my chiropractor, ice bath, hot tub. I did everything I was supposed to do. And I was indecisive about, do I use my tri bike? Because that's definitely my back pain stems from, or my road bike. And I opted for the tri bike because I had been riding, my chiropractor's like, ride your tri bike because you're coming to see me today. And then I can work out whatever issue you're having. And I just felt like so good race day, there's a little bit of taper involved. And I rode and I had so much fun. Like I swam really strong. Like I didn't swim all out. I just wanted to swim strong, but whatever pace I did was what I did. I felt strong. Right. And the bike was so much fun. And I had back pain most of the ride. And as soon as I dismounted, I just stood up straight and I ran. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where's my back pain?
So it was just when you're on the bike.
Yeah, it was really tight on the bike. And normally when I get off the bike, I'm hunched over. And normally it takes me a mile to kind of be able to like straighten up and for it to go away. And that was before I hurt my back. That was just my regular training. Was I had back pain and it would loosen up a half mile later into the run and I could get it in my pace. But then I tweaked it on top of the normal back pain. It tweaked and I was like out of commission for the weekend when I first tweaked it. Like I couldn't stand up straight. It was weird. And then just over the course of a week, things just started getting better. And I did that race and it was tight and I just had fun. Again, I stayed at about 80%. And I moved a lot to try to loosen up my back. And the last 5 miles were mostly downhill, like rolling downhill. And I felt better. And like I said, I dismounted and I wasn't expecting to dismount pain-free. The body works in so many weird ways. So I dismounted pain-free and I ran my bike to transition. I'm like, this is going to be a great day. And I ran and, I'm 52 years old. So I'm masters. And my goal was number one to finish. I'm like, I just need to check off 33. No matter, I don't care about pacing, but I'm like, if I can place in the masters, that's what I'm here for. And I got first masters. And I just feel really good about that because I'm in my 50s and the three women who beat me, 2 were like 42 and 1 was 33. And I'm like, even though the 40 is considered a master, I'm like, I'm 52. It's so different than being in your 40s. I've experienced my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and now I'm experiencing my 50s. And I just feel really good about being 50 and still racing strong and managing the issues that come with being in your 50s.
Right. I do that when I race. Even again, if I got like in the Boulder Peak, I got 9th overall. But then I looked at all the people in front of me. And like the first, I think 6 were professionals. That right away, we're taking out the professionals, right?
Yeah.
Professionals. And then the next 2, or it's like 5 or 6 were professionals. Then the next 2 or 3 were, I think one was in her late 20s and one was in her late 30s. So that same thing, I'm like, even though they didn't have a category for masters, I'm looking at it like I won first place masters because everyone in front of me was younger.
Yeah. Well, a cool thing about racing as a masters athlete, some races have grandmasters that start at age 50. So masters can be 40 to 50 and then grandmasters. And the first time I actually got a grandmaster, I think in like a 5K. And I'm like, grandmaster, ew. who would, why? No way. But now I'm like, ooh, I have an opportunity to get a podium, an age group, a master's and or grandmasters, depending on who shows up, who's in the race.
Right. And what
So,
categories they have.
and what categories they have. And then on top of that wellness win, my second wellness win was my mom came to my race with me, and that was really special because she used to do triathlons. So I just have the genetics and the support. I'm very fortunate to have that. But I showed her how to use her camera on her phone, and I started training her the week before. I'd go on walks with her, and we take videos of the turtles that we get to see and just different videos. Because a lot of times when she tries to take a picture, she somehow takes a video, and it's the way she holds her camera. So I'm like, if you can just get at least one video of me racing, that's all I'm looking for. And, I saw her when I got out of the swim. She missed it. I think she tried to take a picture, but she didn't come out. And then I saw her coming off the bike, and she was surprised to see me so soon because she's used to Ironman.
Man.
So she wasn't expecting me quite so soon, but she was in the right place to see me. And then what she got was with like less than a quarter mile to go, downhill finish, she was in her chair and she got me running towards her, and she kind of got me like running, approaching the finish line, which is really what I wanted the most, was like a photo finish. And you can't tell, but I was holding up 3-3 as like 30, like I just put year 33. So that was a wellness win, because you guys knew my mom. She didn't know how to hang up a phone. She doesn't know how to really, she just is not a master of using her phone. So that was a huge wellness win, is I taught her how to do a video of me.
And that's also kind of, that's leading us into part of what we're going to talk about today, because we are going to talk about race reports and why they're valuable to us and to others and to our coaches and stuff. But we're also going to talk about, we had a lot of questions come in after we did our Life Over 50. And when we talk about hobbies or learning something new or adapting to change, like that's a perfect example that your mom is well over 50 because you're over 50, and she learned to take pictures. She learned to take the video. And think about all those people who are, I feel like our age, were kind of okay with tech, not good, not at all. Like if you listen to mine and Wendy's first 5 podcasts, but the people who are older in their 60s and 70s and 80s having to adapt to all this really fast changing technology that we're experiencing in the world right now. Like that's pretty awesome to have that openness and willingness to learn some of those new skills that are very foreign. So,
yeah, I remember advancing her from like the old style flip phone.
Right.
My dad had a flip phone probably until he died. He still had a flip phone.
Yeah, I think my dad still has a flip phone.
And just kind of advancing her to an iPhone. I think we finally actually she has probably the most recent iPhone now. She doesn't need all those features, but that's what's available. And that's probably the cheapest plan. And an iPhone's a little bit more reliable than a flip phone.
Right.
But it's just interesting that she doesn't have that passion or desire to have to have an app or be on social media or anything like that. But sometimes it's required.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to have the app to do what you want to do. So just trying to navigate that for her. It's been fun.
I remember we, Cora and I, for my dad's birthday this year, like a few months ago, we tried to FaceTime him and there wasn't even an option. Like when I pull up his phone number, because I've texted him before. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he doesn't even have the FaceTime option. He doesn't have I think he still has to hit each button 3 times to get to the 3rd letter. Like it's super old school, but like you said, like it's not a priority for him. That's not important. So I was thinking about my wellness win because I've actually had a really good week and, lots of little things here and there. But when I try to come up with a wellness win, if something doesn't hit me wow, this was a huge wellness win, I try to think of something that in the past I would have done poorly, or, whenever I can learn from the past and not make the same mistake 85 times or make the same mistake 85 times and then all of a sudden get it right. To me, that's a huge wellness win. And I was in South Dakota this past weekend for my race. And I was there. I drove on Thursday. The race was Saturday. I drove home Saturday. So I was there basically 3 days. I packed all my food. I car camped. It was heavenly. It was amazing. Every bit of it was amazing. But what I was so proud of is being there with not really much to do. And I was tapering and I wasn't really training. And typically I would still eat as much as I would normally eat in a day. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so full. Like I worked out for 20 minutes today and I still ate 4,000 calories. And then I just feel blah and bulky and I get mad at myself because I'm like, I don't want to overeat. I want to like feel good. I want to eat early. I want to, all this stuff. And I ate perfectly the whole time I was there.
It's a huge
I know. It's a huge wellness win for me. And I was thinking that the whole time. And even driving home after the race, I drank my shake right after the race. And then I wasn't hungry because I'm often not hungry after a long distance race. I wasn't nauseous at all. I have my nutrition finally pretty dialed in, and I'm consuming way more calories and way more carbs each hour of a race than I ever thought I would. But I didn't have any stomach problems at all. I was taking in like 500 calories and over 100 grams of carbs every hour for 6 hours. Wow. And I was like, why am I not feeling sick? So I was really proud of myself. I dialed in my race nutrition. But a lot of times in the past, after a race, I'm like, oh, I just raced. I'm going to go like eat some junk food or like eat a bag of chips or, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I didn't. I drove home 6 hours. I ate a couple bars just to like keep me not getting hungry. And then when I got home, I had ordered in advance. So it was waiting for me when I got home, a really good big Indian meal with Indian food. It's my favorite. So it was like, I was like, wow, even the day of the race, I ate really well. So I was really proud of myself.
Yeah, I love that. And, speaking of food, so my mom and I drove down, it's a 2-hour trip, but my mom was coming. So I got a hotel room. We drove down Friday. The 2-hour ride took us 3 hours because of the traffic and accidents. And thankfully my mom had sandwiches for us. She got me a veggie sandwich at Publix. She got herself one. So we got to eat in the car. And then she also got this big fruit salad. And I'm like, I don't want to eat that the night before my race. Yeah. And so, I think our hotel refrigerator must have been frozen, created some frozenness because we woke up that morning, put the fruit salad in her bag, and it's hot out. So like, 10 hours later, we opened up that fruit salad and it was still cold and it was so delicious.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect.
So my mom knows me. She knows what I like. I like to eat fruits and vegetables after a race because I'm so sick of the heavy carbohydrate
and the
concentrated sweet stuff. I want some like whole food nutrition. And so on the drive home, it was so nice to be noshing on that fruit salad that was cold, unbelievably cold. And there was $1 billion lottery. We were in this town called, I don't even know the name of the town, just a teeny tiny little town with a weird name. We stopped and bought some lottery tickets.
You're like, just in case.
Because I always want, whenever it's a big lottery, I always want to like go to a small town and buy the lottery ticket. And so we happened to be on this really tiny, Gumlog. Gumlog was the name of the town. When we bought 2 lottery tickets in Gumlog, and I thought it was a for sure thing. And it was.
You're like, I thought it was a sure thing. So it's funny you said that because Cora was with her dad all weekend because I was out of town. And when I went to go pick her up on Sunday, I always ask her like, how was your weekend? What did you guys do? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, it was really sad. And I go, what was really sad? She goes, we didn't win the lottery. Somebody else won it. And it just made me laugh.
Yeah, that's great. We didn't even we actually bought 4 tickets total, 2 for my mom, 2 for me. And then Don had bought 2 for us. And I don't think we even got one number out of all those, maybe one number, but one number is 0 out of 6 tickets. We didn't even
get any. That's why it's called the lottery. So the first thing that Wendy and I wanted to talk about today, because we both had a race this past weekend, and typically always, especially for like more like of my major races, I like to do a race report. Wendy does. We do race reports in our own way. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but kind of why we do them, what we include, why it's valuable and how it's valuable for others, and especially us as coaches, why it's so valuable for you guys especially our athletes, but even everyone, because we learn a lot from reading or watching other people's race reports that we can share as coaches with our athletes. So if I read something in some random person's race report, even a professional athlete, they're always doing race reports. And if it's something that's never happened to me or occurred to me, but maybe it happened to somebody else, I might have an athlete down the road that's like, oh my gosh, this happened to me, or I have a question about this. And I'm like, oh, well, I, remember so-and-so talking about it. So that could be something on the course, like a course specific. That could be something about nutrition, something about a brand of clothing, something about a certain type of bike that maybe Wendy and I haven't experienced. So it's educational for us as coaches. And especially if you're our athlete, we need to know everything. The more information that we have, the better. So, but about what I do. So a long time ago when I started racing, I would just do like a written race report. I had a blog. When social media came into play, I would kind of post it on social media. But about, I think in 2013, so about 12 years ago, I started working on videos just to challenge myself. And I tried to keep kind of like a vlog, a video log of my training. And that was the first year that I was training to qualify for the Ironman World Championships in Kona. And so I used video. So that was the first year I started doing video race reports. And the reason that I liked doing that is because I could explain myself more and people could hear and feel the emotion in my voice, and people could hear and feel more of what I was trying to portray. And so it felt a little more personal. And I've had people, I remember my first big race report was that I did on video was after the Ironman in Kona in 2014. And I had a really hard race. It was mentally really challenging. I cried a lot. I cried in my race report. I like doing video race reports so people can, feel what I'm feeling and hear the emotion. And in 2014, I remember when I did my race report for Kona, and I didn't expect this to happen, right? You don't expect, I started bawling and I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving it in because I feel like race reports should be raw, that you're not just saying like when, Wendy could be like, oh yeah, the swim was great. The run was great. The bike was great. My back hurt a little bit, but yay, I won. Or she can be like, oh my gosh, she said at the beginning, she said, I was kind of afraid I wasn't going to be able to finish this race. That's a little bit different because then all of a sudden we relate to Wendy. Instead of being like, oh, Wendy's superwoman. She could do anything. Nothing phases her. She's like, I was a little nervous. I wasn't going to be able to do that race.
And you know what? I finished and I had to pee really bad. I went to the bathroom and I started crying. I'm like, an Olympic distance local race. I was crying because I was so happy that I was able to race and I felt good and my back didn't hurt. Just those small little things, those small little things that people can take for granted if they've never experienced those little bit of setbacks. I mean, it's not a broken knee, but it was a setback that there was no other races except one. I'm doing an indoor triathlon this weekend.
Right.
There was like no other races on the calendar that I was able to do the rest of the year due to my schedule and swim meet schedule and just things that I have going on. I'm like, this was it. And if I wasn't able to do year 33, I would have been really sad.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, the reason I like to do the video so people can see my emotion, feel my emotion, see my struggle, feel my struggle, because I've had more people say to me, they're not like, oh, good job on your race. They're like, oh my gosh, your race report made me cry. Or, oh my gosh, now I can relate to you more because before I thought you were just like, oh, la-di-da, she's doing the world championship. But now I know that bike ride took you 7.5 hours your first year. And you were crying on the bike and you were having such a tough time mentally and emotionally that, wow, I didn't know that about you. Whereas if I would have just typed out like, ugh, the bike ride was so hard. It was so windy. That was the windiest year I've done Kona. if I was like, oh, this is the windiest bike, I was struggling so much. That's a lot different than when you hear in my voice cracking and saying like, I was literally bawling. I had to like take off my sunglasses and wipe my eyes because my sunglasses were getting all teary. So that's why I like doing video race reports, and I try to incorporate things over time that people have asked. So in my early race reports, I never talked about nutrition. I might have been like, I threw up at the end, or I might have been like, I pooped 4 times. But people ask me all the time about nutrition. So now the last few years, all my race reports are, this is what I did. This is how I've progressed in my nutrition. This is how the results of my nutrition were. And then same with the course kind of review, because that's another thing people ask. They're like, oh, well, tell me about that course. So now I try to incorporate that into my race reports. So now my race reports are a little longer. I try to keep them like 10 minutes, but I always realize they're closer to 20 because I want to mention like, here's what the temperature was. Here's what the water temperature was. Here's what the feel of the race was. So that if some random stranger is Googling, like, somebody told me about the Wildlife Loop Triathlon, and then, what's it like? And then my race report pulls up. They learn about the last 8 years of temperatures and water temperature and what the course is like and how many people are there and what the vibe is like. They can learn all that from my race report. And so that's why I give so much of that detail now, because I'm hoping that not only is it to let my friends and family know how I did, because I appreciate when my friends and family fill me in on stuff, but also to help other people out there who might be interested in that specific race.
Right. So when I was the co-host of the Endurance Hour podcast, I did a lot of my race reports as part of the podcast. So that was like the way I did a video race report. Now I kind of do just type it out with some photos, but make it educational, not just about my race, but a little bit of education of talk about a little bit of the setback I had and that I wasn't able to do it. And then say, especially when my most recent 50K race reports, I struggled with nutrition. I don't anymore. And this is what I do now. And this is how my ultra nutrition compared to my triathlon nutrition is a little bit different. So I just tried, just like you do, make it a little more educational. So it's going to highlight different things for different people. So when I did this reminded me, when I did the Cruel Jewel 50 miler in 2021, it was like the ultra I did to see if I wanted to do ultras again. Wow, it was brutal. And I did a race report. I did a race report myself, actually. I talked about it on the podcast. I did it myself. My friend Dave posted my race report on the Endurance Hour YouTube channel because I really didn't have one. And our mutual friend Bo, who we know from Team Timex, signed up for Cruel Jewel, Googled it, and what came up? The first thing that came up was my race report. So I got back in touch with a good friend of mine, and we're still in touch. So yeah, there's so many benefits to doing video or just a written one. And I actually have on my website a blog called Components of a Race Report, where I have a list of 10 questions that no matter what, it's my standard that I send to every athlete that I coach on every race they do. What did you learn? What worked well? What are you most proud of? What didn't go well? How did you respond to things in your control? What are areas of growth? What are your thoughts and feelings during the race? What was not effective about your mental game? How did your pre-race planning help or hinder you? What was your fueling and hydration strategy? Did it work? What were the circumstances of the day, like weather, terrain, competition? Those key questions usually evolve into more questions, but those are the key questions that help you answer. And then that helps you prepare for the next race, whether it's an upcoming race or it's in the future. You can look back and just look at the things that you learned. I recently posted on Instagram, do you learn more from a win or a loss? However you define winning or losing, everyone except one person responded that they learned more from a loss. So it's important, I think, to write or review in person on video all those learning opportunities that you experienced during your event to help prepare you for a future one.
Yeah, 100%. And those are perfect questions. So if you guys missed that, you can go to Wendy's website, t2coaching.com, correct?
Yeah, components of a race report.
And it's called Components of a Race Report.
I didn't mean to read them, but I just started reading them.
No, it's awesome. But like, I know that when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm either like riding my bike or driving. So I'm like, when I hear something, I'm like, crap, I can't write it down. So it's on Wendy's website. But the other thing I wanted to just mention about this is that I remember when I first started doing race reports back in the olden days, and I was kind of like felt weird about sharing my race. Like does anybody really care? And so I'd be like, is this just like me thinking people care? This feels weird. It's kind of like when we say something we're proud of. I know a lot of people that are like, I don't like to brag. And I also have a little bit of a trauma from being a child about bragging, because I was really smart when I was young. And I distinctly remember a woman who was my mom's friend. I was spelling all the names of the dinosaurs. I was like 4. And I was like spelling, Tyrannosaurus rex, Brontosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Stegosaurus. I was just spelling the dinosaur names. And she looks at me and she was like, nobody likes a bragger. And I was literally 4 years old. And I remember it like it was yesterday.
My
I
gosh.
could picture her looking down at me. I could picture what she was wearing. And I think about it all the time. And I've obviously gotten past it. But every time I want to like be proud of myself for something, I always have her little like voice in my head. And that's the only time that's ever happened. It's not like it's happened, it's not a reoccurring theme throughout my life. I'm sure some people are like, yeah, she talks a lot about herself, but I feel like that's okay to advocate for you and to promote yourself in this world, whether it's a business or, what you love doing, or to share things that you're good at or share experiences that you had, because even if there's the off chance, 1% chance that share is going to help somebody else's life in any way, it's worth it for me.
Yeah, especially this day and age with social media. I mean, like, it's just part of our lifestyle now. You share your selfies, you share your meals, you share your thoughts and emotions of a training session or aging or anything. It's just, that's what people do on social media. So it's kind of become the norm. It's just so different. It's just become,
it's not as weird as it's not weird, but like it's not as unusual.
Yeah,
as it used to be.
it's not really, I wouldn't consider bragging anymore. It's not showing off. It's not trying to prove, I don't think it's trying to prove that you're better than them. It just is what it is. People like to share, people like to read people's stories. I mean, I remember, when Instagram came out and then all of a sudden there's these stories. I'm like, what are these stories?
And now you're like the story queen.
Right. Yeah. So, but now I prefer to look at people's stories over their Facebook or Instagram feed, because the stories are more like in the moment, present, what they're doing today, how they're feeling now, what's going on in their life presently now. And again, like for me, social media, while we're on the topic, just since moving to Georgia in 2016, it's a way for me to kind of keep in touch with my friends and to be like, oh, I wonder how so-and-so's doing. I'll look them up on Facebook, and
Right.
kind of, it's been really great for me to have that part of social media in my life.
Right. Yeah, I use it a lot for connection. And it's funny you mentioned that, because just like 3 days ago, Cora goes, because we were somewhere on Monday, she didn't have school. So she had to come to my classes with me at the gym, because I teach 2 classes on Monday at a gym that has no kid care. So whenever she doesn't have school, she has to come to those classes. And she walks in and they're all like, hi, Cora. And so when we got back in the car, she goes, Mom, how do so many people know me? And I'm like, because you're, I know. I'm like, because you're really popular, because I know a lot of people and I share a lot about Cora and her life in my world and in social media. And so people all the time, they'll meet her for the first time, but they already know her.
Right.
And so, but yeah, it was so funny. She's like, Mom, how do so many people know me?
It's hilarious.
I know. Any other last thoughts on race reports?
No, again, it's just, a diary, like if you're not into race reports because you don't race, just keeping a diary, keeping a log of your day to day, what's working, what's not working. For example, this week, I started keeping a log of how I've been spending my days. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, how, again, productive are my days. I just want an idea of, am I spending too much time on creating the perfect Canva design to post on social media? Or do I need to be spending more time on rebuilding my website? Because that's a high priority for me right now. Right now, my website's really not working at all. Like, I opened my website, my stepdaughter opened the website, and we saw two different things. So I'm like, okay, I got to really spend more time. I got to spend less time on this, more time on this. So I've just been kind of tracking my time. And it's the same idea. It's just kind of keeping a log or a diary of something that's important to you. So you can look back on it and determine if that's how you want to spend your time or if you want to spend your time doing something else. That's kind of the race report reflection on something other than an event.
Yeah. And you could do that with your food journal. That's a food journal. You can do it with,
Sleep.
stuff at work.
Keeping track of sleep, or trying to develop good sleep hygiene by tracking. I mean, your watch doesn't know. Your watch can give you a general idea how much sleep you're getting, but by tracking, if sleep's a priority and you want to find out, are you getting enough sleep, that sleep hygiene, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, keeping track of it is very helpful for you to do.
Right. And sharing that, because like I was just thinking when you were saying that, like I've been prioritizing hydration this week, because that's something that if I don't focus on, I drink a lot of drinks, but none of them are water. So I've been trying to drink more water. So I know I'm not the only one who struggles with that. So I could do something like, I had a great idea, or like I got my gallon of water and I have to drink this amount each hour, or however you like to do it. And then you can share that. And you're like, I've been really struggling with hydration. So this is what I've been doing. And this week it's worked really well, and blah, blah, blah. That's just like a race report. It's your hydration report. It's whatever you're working on. And you can share that. And somebody else is going to be like, oh my gosh, me too. I'm going to try that. Oh, that worked for me. Thank you. So don't be afraid to share, even if you're doing something for yourself. Wendy and I, all the time, we've been doing this for as long as I've known Wendy. When we have a challenge, when we used to do all our big challenges, the first thing we do is say, who wants to do this with us? All across social media. In December, I've been doing my big December, and it turned into, like, we change up our personal goals each time with whatever's happening in our life. But every time December comes, Wendy and I are both like, who wants to de-swimber with me?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that same thing as like just sharing with other people is a breeding ground for connection.
And connection's important for your well-being.
All right. Speaking of well-being, we also wanted to spend a few minutes going over some questions that people had after we released our Life Over 50 podcast. Because Wendy and I, we had kind of a list of topics. And when we got done, we're like, oh my gosh, we didn't even cover half of these. And so we're like, people are going to have questions. We still had things we didn't even cover. Why don't we, do you just want to pick like 3 and I'll pick 3 and we can kind of discuss? Okay, yeah. Why don't you go first on one? We'll just go back and forth.
First. Okay, so this is actually something I did talk about on one of our podcasts. I mean, we always highlight recovery and sleep and nutrition, but one of the questions was, how do you balance ambition with the reality of needing more rest and recovery? So again, I have a life pre-broken patella and a life post-broken patella. Pre-broken patella, I was 49 years old. I was getting ready to be the fittest I've ever been at age 50. And I wanted to do everything. I had serious FOMO, and I didn't even know what FOMO was until I asked someone, what does FOMO mean? But I wanted to do it all. I wanted to break 20 minutes in a 5K, and I wanted to run 50 miles all a week apart. And I wanted to train for everything. Ooh, I want to do that race. Ooh, that race looks fun. I want to do it. I had this big race calendar. And what happened to me is I was trying to train a certain way to try to be able to manage it all. And I was overtrained. I tripped, I fell on my knee, and then 10 days later it split. So I learned a lot more about what my body needs as recovery, especially as an aging athlete who was in menopause already. And I didn't know you lose most of your bone mass those first 5 years in menopause. So, I mean, it helped me learn a lot. I broke my knee, and sometimes a break in your routine is what you needed. And it's what I needed at that time. So I learned about, and I've always known this, and I tell athletes this ever since I've been a coach, recovery is part of training, is allowing your body to do active recovery or have complete days off. And it's just part of training. You have to honor that. And so now as an athlete post broken patella and all the things I've learned, is I don't have quite the ambition that I used to have. It's coming back, but I'm able to recognize it and reel myself in. You know, for example, my first 5K trail race a year post patella surgery, I'm like, I just did a 5K trail race. Fantastic. I'm going to stick to 5Ks. I have no desire to run further. And then like 4 or 5 months later, I did a half marathon. And then 6 weeks later, I do a 50K. So it's not like I kind of came off the couch from 0 to 50K in a year and a half, but I have 30 plus years of experience. And then I'm like, you know what? You don't need to do 100 miles the next year. Let's just stick to the 50K for a while. Maybe you'll get desire to do a 50 miler. Maybe you won't. And it doesn't matter. That's the whole point. Is I thought for some reason I needed this validation to do it all. And I don't. And I don't even need the validation to allow myself to start something and to stop it at any given moment. If I don't feel like doing the 50K, I'll do the 30K instead. I'll do something different. So I think a lot of that balancing the ambition with saying, no, my body doesn't need to go on that 5-hour ride with my best friend tomorrow. It needs to have a day off. You just learn that by giving yourself grace to do that. And you learn how great it feels. And you just learn from just having all these varieties of experiences and sticking to what's true to you and sticking to your why. Is your why to recover, or is your why to trash your body and then overtrain, illness, and injury? So that's kind of how I read that question.
Yeah. And I agree with all of that. I realized, so I had my race last weekend, and then my final triathlon of the year, it's 4 weeks after. So it's 1 month after. And in my mind, what I wanted to do was come back, have 3 like massive hard weeks of training, and then taper for a week, and then do my final race of the year. However, like Wendy said, you learn, you trust, you get smarter, you listen to your body, you pay attention. And what would be smarter for me, which is what I'm doing, is 4 weeks to my next race. I raced last weekend. This week is recovery week. Then I'm going to go 2 hard weeks and then a taper week. So I'm not changing my ambition at all. I'm changing the map to how to get there. And because we know this, Wendy and I know this from experience and just education and being coaches, I'm going to do a lot better, and my body's going to respond better, and I'm not going to get injured, and it's going to work out better. I took 1 week for recovery instead of jumping back onto that horse and just going train.
Right.
And it's going to pay off because I know that.
Because you know that, and you have a strong why.
Yeah.
You know, again,
I want to do well, and I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah. I always want to stress the importance of when you have a strong why, the how is easy. And I never used to have a why because no one ever told me, back in the day. But at this day and age, you always have to remind yourself what the why is, what's the goal, what's the purpose.
Right.
And then the how becomes so much easier. The how of, I'm going to take that day off. I'm going to take a week of recovery. I'm not going to do that race because I can't stand up because of my back. That would have been okay. I wouldn't have forced myself to do my race if I couldn't stand up straight.
Right.
10 years ago, well, maybe, but now, no.
Right. And you guys, this can apply to every area of your life. This could apply to your work life. This could apply to your relationships. When your why is big enough, the how gets really easy. So to me, if you're struggling with motivation in any area of your life, it could be something that's not as important as you think it is.
You don't have a strong enough why, like if you're like, I should be doing this, instead of I get to do this, I get to do that, then you need to reevaluate what you're doing. You should go in with the mindset, I get to whatever it is you get to do, instead of I have to or I should.
Yeah. I thought about that a lot this weekend, my gratitude. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to be out here. This place is amazingly gorgeous. I get to swim, bike, and run as hard as I want today. And how awesome is that? So I got a question, and Wendy and I actually, it was funny, right when we got off the podcast, that the Life Over 50, we're like, we didn't even talk about like relationships over 50. And that's a huge, like, that's a big thing. And Wendy is married. I am single. So our relationships over 50 are a lot. But somebody reached out to me, and it's somebody who is recently divorced, over 50, and just got back on the dating apps. I mean, not got back, got on the dating apps, because if you were married for a long time and then got divorced, you were never on a dating app. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, oh my gosh, it's awful out there. There's all these scammers. There's all these blah, 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 blah. And she's like, and then she was like, there's no good guys at our age. So that was her thing. She's like, how do you find a good guy at our age? I'm not the expert because I am not dating anybody. However, I have been on the dating. I haven't recently, but within the last like couple years, I did get on the dating apps. I learned a lot because it is different than meeting somebody at a bar, meeting somebody at a race, or I was married for 21 years. I met him at a bar. So he's a friend of a friend, but I first met him at a bar. I was in my 20s. So, but I do want to say that I've gone out with several people since I started dating a few years ago, and all of them were really good people. And they're nobody that I'm looking for something really specific in my life at this point, because I love being by myself and I don't need anybody and again, this is at 52 years old, I'm very set in my ways. I can see very clearly the vision of my future. And if somebody doesn't fit in with that, I don't need anyone. So I'm not interested in anything more than just, having some friends. So, but what I wanted to share about this whole thing, because I just hear it all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, at our age, the pool is so awful. Like they're, out of shape, or like if you're looking for a fit person, like there's less men over 50 that have amazing bodies than men under 50. There's less women over 50 who have amazing bodies, for whatever you think is an amazing body, than women under 50. That's okay. Like there's still really amazing people out there. And so that's what I wanted to mainly share about that, because that's just all I ever hear is like, once you're over 50, the dating pool is awful. There's no good guys left.
Right. And I also want to add to, we talked about like, we are over 50 with 30 years of wear and tear in our body. That's different than someone training who's over 50, who's only been training for 2 or 3 years. You were in a relationship you were married at early 20s. That's way different. And you're married for 20 years. That's way different than someone who was single until their 40s. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for love for the first time in their 40s than you had in your 20s. So your goals and your whys are vastly different due to you've been there, done that. You know what you want, versus someone who's like, I've never been in one because I was a corporate men or women, and now I'm getting retired in my 50s. I'm ready to date, or I'm ready to train that I've never trained before. So that's really good advice.
Yeah. And there's always new dating apps coming out. But the thing that I think is really cool is nowadays there's a dating app for any specific thing you're looking for. So when I first started dating a couple years ago, I got on a vegan dating app. So it was literally a dating app for vegans. And then I've been getting all these on Facebook for, I forgot what it's called, but it's a sober dating app. So it's only for people who are sober. So instead of having to like fish out, if you have a certain political view, a certain religion, a certain trait, like you want someone who doesn't do drugs or drink, if you want someone who does smoke pot, if you want, whatever these are, you guys, there's apps now that cater to that specific kind of person you're looking for. So that takes half of, like I said, if you want somebody a specific religion and that's really important to you, there's an app for every religion. So start on that app. So then you already know, okay, they already have the same spiritual beliefs as me. And then you can start like looking at the other things.
Very
So
helpful.
that's what I would say, just from the experience of, it was really nice when I was on the vegan app, because that's something that's really important to me. I didn't realize it until I went on, I did Facebook dating for a while. And the reason I really liked the Facebook dating app, is it shows who you guys might have common friends. And so first of all, I like that because it's a real human, because there are some scammers out there and there are other things. But if you have mutual friends on Facebook, that's a real human. And if it's somebody that you're really interested in, maybe you could reach out to some of those mutual friends and be like, hey, what do you think of Jim? Or something like that. So if I were to go back dating in this near future, the 3 apps, I would definitely do Facebook dating, because I feel like that's really safe. You can like see somebody has a profile, you can see your mutual friends. The vegan one, because that's important to me, and then the sober one, that's important to me. Yeah, so you could get as specific as you want these days.
Great info. Didn't know.
Didn't know. I know. Wendy's been married for a long time. I was married for a long time. When my ex-husband and I got divorced, it was in 2017, and we met in 1996. So we didn't even have a computer when we met. So when we got divorced, and I'm like, I guess I'll try online dating. And I went on a random app. I met my daughter's dad pretty immediately, started dating, but I was like blown away by the whole, like, people are crazy out there. But I had a good experience. I met my daughter's dad. It didn't work out for us for a relationship, but I got my prized possession. Not that she's my possession. The best gift of my life from it. So it was worthy. All right. What's another one you have?
All right. What's one small daily habit that makes the biggest difference in how you feel at this stage in your life? So again, whether you're an athlete or not, what tends to happen as we age is joint issues, joint aches and pains, less muscular pains. I think as you age, you tend to continue to get stronger, especially if you do maintain that strength training. But it's the joint issues, the hips, the knees, the shoulders, the big toe. I have big toe immobility. Sometimes my big toe locks up and I can't move it. So, right. And then there's those ankle issues. So mobility, I do daily mobility, and sometimes it's just a little bit of mobility that I do standing while I'm coaching the kids. It's kind of mobility, stretching, flexibility stuff. Some of it is in the pool related, but daily mobility. I keep my joints lubed up, so to speak, so they are constantly in motion every day. And especially if you're someone who has a desk job and you're sitting down a lot, your joints are going to stiffen up. And it's just part of the aging process. You can't avoid it. It's part of aging, but you can maintain it and you can manage it. And so I think that's really important. Again, we stress this on a lot of our podcasts. That functional podcast we did probably two or 3 weeks ago, you guys can reference that one. But just really getting in a good daily mobility habit. Doesn't have to be a routine. Mine's usually kind of a routine, but sometimes it's like a little bit here, a little bit there. I squirm. I can't sit still. People notice I keep moving in my chair. It's just squeezing my butt to activate my glutes. So the mobility and the glute activation is really important. And I never knew about mobility until 2010. So I've known about it for 15 years, but I probably could have prevented a lot of injuries early on when I started triathlon if I knew about mobility before 2010.
Yeah, I was just telling my class, because I do functional training classes at the gym, and they're mostly older adults. And I was just telling them that all these things that we're doing in class, the mobility, the agility, everything that we do in that class, these are things that athletes have been doing forever. Like if you look at in the 80s, the runners before a big race, they're swinging their leg, right? They're getting their knees up. They're doing, they're getting their body ready to be mobile enough to be able to do these races. And it wasn't mainstream. And Wendy and I have been in the fitness industry for our whole lives, like since we were 18 years old, even before, because we were both athletes as children. And it wasn't a thing for the everyday person. And now it is. So, well, I know we're running out of time because Wendy actually has to go to work.
I'm at work, so I have a little bit more time because I'm
Okay.
here at Lifetime already.
Okay.
So I'd
Well,
like to
then
do another question. Do you have another
yeah,
question?
let's do one more. Go ahead.
Let's do one more because this has a non-athlete related. We said so much on
I know we always try to like extend to the non-athletes.
right, but how do you balance time for yourself when caregiving, like for your parents, spouse, grandkids? Which I feel like I'm a caregiver for my mom right now. You know, my father passed away like 2.5 years ago, and we moved my mom out of their house. We moved her to a independent living facility closer to us so we can care for her. She's starting to develop memory issues. So we're slowly planning for her to get a reservation for that memory care assisted living. It's all in the same unit. Right now she's independent. We're getting ready for her to move in with us if that time comes. You know, like 5 years ago, we took care of Don's father and mother. For years, they lived with us. And with Don being at work and me working from home, I did a lot of the caregiving for that as well. And that did run into the free time that I used to have. So I think it's really important. Again, I think the why is there for me, that I want to drop everything and take my mom to her doctor's appointments. She's safer. I'm safer driving her than she is by herself because of those memory issues. I know there's probably going to be a day where she's going to like get her keys, get in her car and be like, where am I going? You know, I've already noticed that this past weekend when I spent the weekend with her at my race. It's important to take care of you because I also stress if you can't, it's easier to take care of someone else when you take care of yourself with the sleep, the nutrition, and the activity. You just may have to modify it. You may have to do it at a different time of day. I right now sometimes get some workouts in while I'm with my mom. Again, my mom's a former marathon runner, so she's the activity is part of her daily living, especially after hip surgery. But I think it's a good, you know, spending time with your parents, your family is a high priority in my life. So I don't have issues with it. Now,
Right. You don't feel like it's a burden.
It's not a burden. I think a few years ago, I would have thought of it as a burden, but it just took some time to readjust and juggle my lifestyle around, especially when I was taking care of Don's mother. But it's not necessarily a burden, but it is important to do what you need to do to take care of yourself so you can be a better caregiver. I mean, my mom was a caregiver for my dad for like 6 or 8 years. He was bedbound. She really couldn't leave the house anymore. I mean, that's why it was so important for me to get her in this active living condition so she could get her life back, because she didn't have a life because she was a caregiver to my dad. And even though she had help in the house, my dad was a crazy and would just scream and go panic when my mom would walk out the door. He could sense her leaving and he would have a panic attack. So my mom was an angel for what she did for my dad.
Right.
And I tell my husband all the time, he's older than I am. I say, I'm not going to take care of you if you get a condition that's preventable with diet and exercise. Of course, I'm going to take care of him. That's just part of being married and part of loving someone. But it's definitely an adjustment that if you're young, that's something that you should start to know, that you're probably going to be taking care of your aging parents if that's something you want to do.
Right. Yeah, currently my both my sets of parents, they're divorced. So both my sets of parents, my mom and her husband, they live on their own. They're both very healthy, doing great. My dad and his wife, we talked about this a few episodes ago. They're living in a like a senior village that's like party time and doing great. But I feel like once you've had, so I'm kind of in the opposite. I still have a young child. So I'm 52. I have a 7-year-old. So I still have to take care of somebody for the next 10 plus years.
Right.
So thankfully, both sets of parents are doing amazingly, because it is an adjustment. Even if you already have someone you're taking care of, if you have to take care of multiple people, like you had Don's mom and dad, like that's multiple people. But yeah, I would echo everything that Wendy said, even like taking care of children or grandchildren, because that's another thing. Like my mom picks up Cora from school 3 days a week. So she's adjusted her schedule. But again, that's important to her. Like one of the days a week, I mean, if I had to, I could pick her up any of those days. They're the days she's with her dad. So my mom adjusted her schedule so that she can have time with her grandchild because it's important to her and she values that time. And so I think whether it's your children, your grandchildren, your aging parents, like Wendy said, it's like if family is a value to you and is really important, it doesn't seem like a burden. It's just part of life. And also, like Wendy said, when you're young, you might think about like, I'm going to have a kid and I'm going to be taking care of kids, but you don't really think a lot about taking care of your parents until you're about our age.
Right. Like I never thought I'm the youngest of three. I have two older sisters. I never thought I would be the caregiver to my parents at all. And, we moved here primarily for Don's family, his kids and his grandkids, but my parents and my sister and my niece lived here. But we wouldn't have moved here just for my family. We moved here for his family. But now that I'm here, you have date night with your mom. I go to my mom's every Tuesday and I come to the gym, do my workout, and then I go right because she's right next door to my gym. We did that. It was convenient, but I'll go spend the day with her, on Tuesdays because she doesn't have a lot of other activity that's on Tuesdays at Holbrook. And then I come and coach the kids at night. So it's a really easy, convenient way for me to spend a regular basis with my mom, to check in on her, to make sure she's doing the things she needs to do. She's getting to her doctor's appointment. She's telling me when her doctor's appointments are. So I'm managing her schedule and my schedule. And it's just something that I value. It's fine.
Right. And what Wendy said, and we have talked about this on over half of our episodes, how important it is to take care of yourself, whether you're a mom or a grandmother or a grandfather or taking care of your aging parents or taking care of your spouse. A lot of people, once you get older, especially women, because women tend to live longer and stay healthier than men. That's just a fact. I'm not trying to be anyway. It's a fact. We might be taking care of our spouse or our partner. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, we're going to be no good to the other people. And if I wasn't getting enough sleep and I wasn't healthy, and if I didn't have the energy level I have from staying healthy, I would have wrung my child's neck by now.
Yeah, I agree. I know, I'm a lot better doing family stuff. My husband has a larger family out here than I do, but I'm a lot better doing family stuff when I've done the things that I prioritize for me. I'm a lot better at doing it. So that's just the human nature.
Right. And one little tip too, if you have a family, so Wendy said, my mom gets it. She was an athlete, so she knows I need to do my workout or I want to be active. You might not have such a supportive family or whoever you're caregiving for, that they might not understand that naturally. So it's okay for you to let people know. Like when I was married, my husband's family, none of them were athletes. And I remember the first few times I went to visit them and I didn't work out at all for the week. And we just ate a bunch of junk food and sat around and they were more party, we everyone sat around and drank. They had a pool. We would go swim. I would go crazy. And they learned over time, because I was married for a long time, that that's really important to me. So then after a while, because I had taught them what's important to me, when we would go, I would wake up early. I'd go for a long run. I'd come back and then I'm fine sitting around all day. Or I found a YMCA and I would go down to the Glens Falls YMCA, swim laps for an hour, do whatever, come home. And then we could do whatever you guys wanted to do all day. And it was so much easier for me to enjoy their company when I already took care of myself first.
Right.
So don't be afraid to tell those people that this is important to me and you're important to me. So I want to do both, but I need to make sure that my cup is full before I can give you what's inside.
Yes. Love that.
Amen. All right. What are you most excited for the week?
Well, I mean, I say not racing because I did a 5K and an Olympic distance in 1 week. I'm kind of excited not to race, but, and this is a but, I am doing an indoor triathlon on Saturday here at Lifetime, and I'm going to help volunteer and kind of be the swim person and monitor the swim portion of the race. And then I'm going to jump in the last wave. So I'm really excited about that because I used to direct indoor triathlons for 15 years in Colorado. And when I moved to Georgia in 2016, that was one thing that I really, really missed is doing the indoor triathlon series at the Fort Collins Health Club. So I'm glad to have met the woman, Danny, here, who is putting on this indoor triathlon here. And she's excited to have met me and kind of us to kind of work together and then actually do the event. Because when you're a race director, you don't get to do the event. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to do events that you used to direct. So that's really, I'm excited about that because it's local, it's close. It's not going to feel like a race. It's going to just feel like a coming to the gym and work out.
Yeah.
But I'm just really excited to be part of this. Me and Danny are, trying to grow this community of triathlon here at Lifetime because I've been here for 8 years and I haven't been able to do it on my own. It's just easier to do stuff like that with people. So I'm just glad that we're kind of on the same wavelength that we both want to grow a community of triathletes here at Lifetime in Woodstock, Georgia. And that's probably the most excited I've been in a long time is trying to grow a community with someone else.
Yeah. And I used to do all the Fort Collins Club triathlon indoor tries, and I would do the same exact thing. I would go and volunteer at the swim portion, count people's laps, do the time, help everyone like transition. And then I would jump into the last wave and do the race. And it was always so much.
It's so fun. And so, I just hopefully this is the start of doing a series again here. The series I used to do was January, February, March, and April. I did that for 15 years. So I'm excited and maybe we're going to be able to launch some sort of series in the spring here starting in 2026.
Fun. Can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah.
I am most excited for tonight because right now, and I kind of forgot about this until you mentioned your mom's doctor's appointments. I actually have to get out. I have to go anyway. I have a doctor's appointment. I have my annual physical, blood work, everything. And then after that, I have nothing on my schedule for this entire day.
Nice.
And I have a lot of catch up to do. And I'm really excited to just like sit down and like go through my lists and just check things off. And I'm going to go eat at the buffet, which is one of my very favorite things to do if I can ever get there. There's a vegan buffet on Monday and Thursday at this really good Chinese food place in Boulder. So I am going to go to my doctor's appointment, go to the buffet, and then come home and just do it all.
Sounds awesome.
I know. Sounds perfect. All right. Well, if you guys have any other questions about the Life Over 50, we do have more questions. So we might tackle that, tack it on to another week to get all of your questions answered to make sure that we acknowledge you and we really appreciate the questions. And if you guys have anything you want to share with us, please do. We love hearing from you.
Email, social media, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, we're all over
the podcast. So rate and review us on Apple.
Rate and review us.
That'd be awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, you guys.
Make it a great day.
Thank you for listening to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. If you want to learn more about us or anything we talked about today, check out the links in our show notes. We would love to know what you think of our podcast and what you want more of. So drop us a comment, send us a message, and help us out by leaving us a rating and a review. And don't forget to let us know your wellness win for this week. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day.